I'm Doris W. Cheng, and this is The Choice, 1988. You thought college would be the answer to your awkwardness, your embarrassing erudition, your virginity. You imagined yourself a co-ed like the ones you saw on the pages of 17 magazine, hair ruffled, cable knit sweater knotted casually around your shoulders, though it took some effort to place your brown Asian self in those scenes of rosy-cheeked girls sharing cider with boys in football jerseys. Your best friend, gay and bookish, told you that college was about reinventing yourself. You had gone to Kmart together to buy dorm room sheets and hangers. No one knows who you are, he said as he picked out a brocade comforter, so you can be anyone you want. You enrolled in the local state university because your immigrant parents couldn't afford to send you anywhere else. You packed the family Oldsmobile with milk crates full of Duran Duran cassettes, Victoria Holt novels, and oversized tops from JCPenney, the kind that were supposed to make you appear tiny and feminine. Your little sister cried as you gathered your things. She was 10 and thought you could do anything, largely because you never had plans on Saturday night and stayed home to make Barbie clothes with her. When you handed her one of your old bangles and told her to keep it, she slipped it over her arm and stroked it like a baby. Your parents drove you to your dorm. Along the way, they instructed you, with the insistence typical of Asian parents, to major in biology so you could find a job in the pharmaceutical industry, like them, after you graduated. You said nothing but thought, never, not in a million years. The walls of your dorm room were white-painted cinder block. Your roommate was thick-chested and ruddy, with bangs that swooshed over her forehead like a cresting wave. She was talking loudly on the phone when you entered and gave you a perfunctory wave, the tips of her nails sparkling with pink glitter. When your mother handed you a bag of Chinese groceries, instant noodles, and dried cuttlefish, you furtively slid it under your bed. Your floor mates were animated and shrill, white suburban girls who wore identical hair scrunchies and high-top Reeboks. They ran in and out of each other's rooms, speaking a language you recognized but had never mastered. "Oh my God," said one girl, "I forgot my room number already. Duh, I am such an airhead." She stood in the middle of the hall, toes pointed inward, wringing the hem of her shirt like a lost child. A pudgy girl named Trish asked if you wanted to go to a frat party with her. She had flunked her freshman year at a different college, which was why her parents were making her go to state, but at least state was a party school. She described herself as a nymphomaniac as you sat cross-legged on the floor of her dorm room, one of those girls who just liked fucking and couldn't help it when a cute boy showed interest. "You know what I mean, right?" she giggled. You didn't, but you said, "Yeah, I know." You decided that no one would know you had never been kissed, much less that you had never been fucked. When you got back to your room, you found a flyer outside your door for the Chinese Students Association ice cream social. No one else on your floor received a flyer. You put it in the garbage. At the frat party, you drank blue whales and talked to different boys. Some asked how you liked your dorm or what you were planning to major in before their eyes drifted across the room to the sorority girls, whose voluminously teased hair seemed to snag their gaze like brambles. The way these boys looked at blonde hair and glossy lips reminded you of babies gazing at shiny, colorful objects. You pushed your way to the bar to look for Trish. You bumped into a boy with cropped blonde hair who was nodding his head to the music. He asked what kind of bands you listened to. When you told him you liked British New Wave, he widened his eyes in mock outrage. "That was shit," he said. "Those guys were fags, posers of the worst kind." You understood his insult to be the equivalent of hair pulling on the playground, so you played along, defended your taste in music, but not strenuously, challenged him to define what wasn't shit. He embarked on a discourse about music from Bad Brains to War. The only things that mattered were passion and authenticity and creative genius. He told you you had a lot to learn. You followed him to a boombox in the corner where he slid an unmarked tape into the cassette deck, jabbing guitars overlaid with growling vocals. "My band," he said. "I play guitar." You couldn't decide if his music was good or bad, but it didn't matter. In high school, you had crushed on the guitar players pictured on album covers. Boys with pale, honed cheekbones and aloof slouches, effortlessly cool. Cool was not something you had been born with, nor was it something you had the means to manufacture. For you, it could be acquired only by association. The key thing was to find that cool in such careless, arrogant abundance that you would be reborn in its overflow. He played a few more songs, and you closed your eyes, listening. It was the kind of listening you did in French class, when you studied language tapes and tried to insert yourself in an unfamiliar conversation. You were a diligent student. You knew it was within your power to learn this boy's language of cool and to one day pass yourself off as a native speaker. He said, "Hey, you should exchange numbers." You scribbled yours on a bar napkin. When you handed him the pen, you noticed the constellation of freckles on his milky cheeks. He took your hand and pressed his number into your open palm, the black ink rolling across your lifeline. You had been hoping he would walk you back to your dorm, but his buddies were gathered nearby, joshing him. "Let's hang out tomorrow," he said. They exited with ostentatious thumps on each other's backs. You wandered through the emptying rooms looking for Trish, but couldn't find her. Later, she will tell you how she hooked up with a frat brother and had the best sex of her life. You stumbled home alone in the dark, hand cupped around the imprint of the boy's number, as if you were cradling a small, frail animal.